There's no investment strategy that's going to pay off this good without a whole plethora of hoops to jump through. And that is something we often see, is that real estate investors will say, well, I just want something easy. I just want get rich quick. I just want this. It's like, hey, that's not this, right?
So you talked a little bit about compliance and regulation. Is that been a challenge at all for you?
Every state varies a little bit, but typically the house is going to have a license on it. And so you have to get that approved through the state. That's going to be based on emergency egress and safety for the seniors. So ramps, guardrails, handrails. You don't have to be ADA compliant, but you want to be as close to that as possible. So getting the house ready to go, maybe adding fire suppression, widening hallways and doorways. That's one thing that will keep you in compliance, and having those documents you need to provide to the state to get that license and stamp of approval. And then you're hiring your licensed administrator and they're hiring your licensed caregivers. So technically, you, the owner, don't have any license, but the home, the administrator, the caregivers all do. And keeping those things, up to par and making sure that you are in standard in compliance is really important, because you don't want to run this willy-nilly. These are people's lives at stake. It's not just real estate, it's care, and that's a really important thing to remember.
Well, I think also, the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, that's why the profit is so much bigger. So, a little bit more, I always say no wealth without risk. And so you want to earn bigger profits, you're going to have to take a little bit more risk. And with that risk is things like regulation, things like the possibility of not being able to find caregivers. And there's certain challenges that might arise versus just a regular tenant if you're just renting a regular house. Am I onto something here?
You are right on the money. That's exactly it. There's no investment strategy that's going to pay off this good without a whole plethora of hoops to jump through. And that is something we often see, is that real estate investors will say, well, I just want something easy. I just want get rich quick. I just want this. It's like, hey, that's not this, right? This is a lot of hard work in the beginning to get it up to standard, to get it up to par. It might be a lot of investment, and it doesn't have to be yours, right? We show people how to use other people's money, and SBA 7A loans, syndication, all these different things, but it's going to be an investment. It's going to be work to get it to the point where it's cash flowing and passive. But all that hard work, there's a lot of people along the way who quit, who said, this is too much. I'll go do something else. So I like it for that reason, because I really don't think everyone should get into this industry, because it's not for everyone. If you don't like people, if you don't care about seniors, you shouldn't get into this, right? Like that should be like a number one. But also, if you're not willing to jump through those hoops, you shouldn't get into this, because it's important. These rules are there for a reason. These regulations are there for a reason, and it's to protect your staff, your seniors, and yourself as a business owner. And if you can't understand that or grasp it, then it's not for you, and that's okay.
And do you see that? Well, I was going to ask you about, because if you spend, let's just call it $1 million, right? You spend $1 million on buying a house, okay?
Yeah.
So you find that 3,000, 4,000 square foot house, whatever, in Arizona, whatever, and then you go and what type of money, extra investment would somebody need to get the place like super compliant, all the extras, bells and whistles, and to get the place like ready to rock and roll?
Yep. It's mostly going to be about renovating the home to have the maximum amount of bedrooms, bathrooms. So if you're already buying $1 million home, I would hope that it's already relatively close, maybe 6 or 7 bedrooms. And so we're only maybe chopping it up a little bit, adding a little bit more, and getting right there. And then some states require fire suppression, so sprinklers. That's about $3 to $5 per square foot. If you have a multi-level home, you're going to need to add a residential elevator. That's 30 to 50 grand, right? So all those different things, ramps, guardrails, handrails, things to keep it senior safe, are going to be important. And then smooth, clean floors all throughout the house, right? We don't want carpet. We don't want hardwood even, because that soaks up liquids, and we're not talking water, right? So it is important to have like LTV or tile, and not even like rugs. Like literally, you just want smooth, clean floors all throughout. So the renovations, depending on how the house starts, could be as low as 50K. They could be upwards of, 100, 200. It really just depends. But you could easily be in most markets all in the home plus renovations for under 1.2. Easy.
Cool. I mean, I think it's I mean, I've always been fascinated by the space. So, for sure. I mean, this is why I'm really, really curious right now. I mean, it has like, did COVID affect you guys like when that was happening? I mean, what did that do to you?
In a positive way, actually. It's really interesting because it finally shined a light on what's happening in the big boxes, and people started to realize, oh my God, like the care is atrocious, and my loved ones being left for days, and they're shoving food under the door, and they clearly do not care about the human being at the end of the day. It is all dollar signs to them. And so for us, it was a beautiful thing because people were ripping their loved ones out of big boxes, begging to come into our homes. Smaller care homes represent 61% of the current beds in our market today for assisted living, but they're small homes. There's no big sign. A lot of them don't even have websites, right? It's all like mom and pop. We're the first people to come into the market and kind of run it as business owners and operators. A lot of these homes is someone who lives in the home, cares for the senior themselves, they do it all themselves. So there's really no mass marketing. And so you might drive by them every day and not even know that they exist. There's 30,000 group homes across our country. 3,000 in the county I'm in alone right now, Maricopa County. So it's very popular in Arizona, Florida, California, where you are. Certain states are growing in popularity as well. And other states, we have students who created the first of their kind, right? And so it's really cool because COVID was a good thing for us in that even the big box owners started coming and saying, we realize smaller is better. How do we become like you? And so you'll notice now people, big box owners are starting to buy entire like plots of land and build large neighborhoods where they have like 10 small homes. And they're literally trying to do our model, but like a whole neighborhood of them because they know no one wants to go into this big facility with long hallways and crappy food and just all this terrible stuff. So it's really interesting. It changed the industry for us in a better way, but it changed the industry forever.
If you like this video and you want to watch another one, click right here.